Happy Sabbath, everyone! For today's children's story, we are going to be talking about shadows.
Can anyone guess whose shadow this is? That's correct. This is Olaf's shadow. Let's try a little harder one. Do you guys know what shadow this is? It's a tree. Now let's try a really hard one. Can you guys guess who this is? I bet you guys couldn't guess this one, because just by looking at the shadow, you can't tell who exactly it is. You guys might have guessed that the shadows of characters are easy to figure out, but it's kind of hard to figure out the shadows of humans. This is because there is only one Olaf, but for humans, there are about more than 7 million humans on Earth. So by looking at the shadow of a human, it's practically impossible to figure out who it is. You can't say, that person must have a sharp nose, large eyes, maybe rabbit teeth, and really thick eyebrows. You can't see that from a shadow. You can only guess and imagine how that person might look like. Well, that's kind of how heaven is like for us, isn't it? We hear things about heaven and how it would be like, but earth is merely a shadow of heaven. So we can only guess and know from the things that God tells us. But this doesn't mean that we should give up on thinking about heaven. The book of Revelations tells us a bit about how heaven will be like. In Revelations chapter 21, verse 23, it says, "The city had no need for the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God illuminated. The Lamb is its light." On earth, when it gets dark and we need light, we use an artificial light, such as a flashlight or a light bulb of some sorts. But in heaven, it says that there is no need for even the sun or the moon to shine, because we get the direct source of that light, which is the glory of God. In chapter 22, verse 2, it says, "In the middle of his streets and on either side of the river was a tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. The leaves of the tree were for healing of the nations." The types of trees that we know only yields one type of fruit. For example, an apple tree only makes apples, and a pineapple plant only makes pineapples. But in heaven, the tree of life will bear 12 different types of fruit. Can't you imagine how tasty and juicy the fruit would be compared to the fruits of the earth? It says, "And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." Have you guys ever ridden a bike super fast down a hill and you crashed into a tree? And you're in so much pain that you looked around on your body and you saw that your knees were super bloody. And when you saw the blood, it hurt even more and you just didn't know how to handle the pain. Well, I sure did. But it is not only through falling from a bike that I have experienced pain, but humans go through emotional pain, physical pain, and pain every day, from losing loved ones or going through hardships and trials. But here in the Bible, it tells us that there will be no pain at all in heaven. It is almost impossible to even fully imagine, because right now we are living in a pain-filled world. So to conclude, I hope that as you guys live life, and when you have some sort of pain, to not just stay in the pain and think about that pain and how much it hurts, but for you to instead think about the promise of God and the things that He has promised to give us in heaven. So I hope that today you guys can spend your time thinking about how awesome heaven would be. If there are only 8 musical notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G on earth, and we make beautiful music, perhaps in heaven there are millions of musical notes that we've never heard, that we can't hear with our human ears. How much more beautiful would music be in heaven? Or if on earth we can only describe our emotions through our words, like, "Oh, I'm so sad," or "I'm so happy," or "I'm so angry," maybe in heaven you can describe your emotions through colors. You shouldn't continue to look at the downsides of the things on earth, but you should look at hope that you can gain from heaven. Thank you for listening. Happy Sabbath.